Hi, today we're going to be solving some more equations, and our goal today is to be combining like terms, using distributive property, and solving perimeter problems. You'll find the perimeter problems on the video 2B. Okay, let's take a look at what we want to do today. We have some steps that we always want to go through when we solve multi-step equations. This is when we get other terms in there, when we get parentheses in there. Step 1, get rid of fractions and decimals, because if you don't want to have to work with them, we can get rid of them. Step 2, remove parentheses using the distributive property. Step 3, combine like terms on each side. And step 4, undo addition or subtraction. And step 5, undo multiplication or division. These last two steps right here were the steps that we were doing in the last video. Now we're combining some other steps into solving the equation. Let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 down here, 3x minus 6 plus x is equal to 81. When I look at that, I see I have two terms that have the x in them. They are separated, but I need them to be together on the same side. Well, right now they are on the same side of the equal sign, so I need to put them together. This x doesn't have a number in front of it, so it's assumed to be a 1. When I put them together on the same side, I just add them up. 3x and 1x is 4x. Bring that minus 6 down is equal to 90. Because I'm just going to add these like terms. 81 plus 9 are both constant terms. They are considered like terms. They're on the same side of the equal sign, so I just add them up together. Okay, now that I have this 4x minus 6 is equal to 90, it's just like the equation we had from day 1 video. I need to undo that subtraction by adding. So I have 4x, my 6's cancels, equal to 96. And then divide both sides by 4, and I get x is equal to 96 divided by 4 is 24. Okay, I have a solution, but it does say up in the directions to check my work. So I am going to check my answer to make sure that I've done my algebra work correctly. So I'm going to just take the 3 in the equation, x, but since there's an x there, I'm going to put the 24 in its place. Minus 6 plus 24, and that's supposed to equal my 81 plus 9. Alright, well 3 times 24 is 72. Minus 6 plus 24 is supposed to equal this 81 plus 9, which is actually 90. Okay, so when I do the 72 minus 6, I get 66 plus that 24. And then I look at 66 plus 24, that is 90. So since both sides really do equal one another, I know that my solution over here is correct. Okay, let's take a look at the next page, the next equation. In the next equation, we're going to be solving some equations that have parentheses in them. So we're going to have to be using the distributive property. And the distributive property says that when we have parentheses, like this equation does in number 2, that means we want to take the number on the outside, that 2, and we have to multiply it by each piece on the inside of the parenthesis. So 2 times x would be 2x. 2 times that negative 3, negative 6, equals 8. Now, to simplify this, just like day 1, undo that subtraction. So I want to add to both sides. So I'm going to have 2x, 6's cancel, equal 14. Divide both sides by 2, x is equal to 7. So I have my solution of x equals 7. Now the directions here just say solve, so I'm not going to check that right now. Number 3, 15 equals negative 3 times the quantity x minus 1 plus 9. So I have parentheses, so I have to apply that distributive property here. So I have this 15 equals, now negative 3 times x is negative 3x. I have to take that sign that's in front of that 3 with it. Work it as a negative 3. Negative 3 times, now this second term, that 1 has a minus sign in front of it, so I use that as its negative. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. And then the plus 9. And I see I have some like terms back here on the same side of the equal sign, on the right hand side there. So I have 15 is equal to negative 3x plus 12. And Now I need to get this term with the x by itself, so I need to undo the addition, so I'm going to subtract 12. So I get 3 equals negative 3x. Divide both sides by negative 3, don't lose that negative. I get negative 1 is equal to x for my solution here. Alright, now let's take a look at the last two that I have in this video. The last two that I have in this video, whoops, I didn't change the page. Here we go. Okay, the last two that we have in this video, number 4 and number 5, number 4 has fractions in it. Oops. Oh well. And let me try to get rid of that. Okay, try again. Alright, fractions. So what I'm going to do is I see that I have this 2 here and I have this 5 here. And I want to get rid of those fractions. So I look at the 2 and the 5. They're both prime numbers. So I'm going to multiply every single piece, all three terms in this equation, by a number that both 2 and 5 divide into evenly. And that would be 10. They're both prime, so I just multiplied them together to get that 10. So it's like a 10 over 1. And I notice this 2 will go into itself once, into 10 5 times. 5 times 3x is 15x. Then I do my second piece. This 5 right here goes into itself once, divides into 10 2 times. 2 times x is 2x. And then 17 times 10 is 170. I have some like terms that I need to put together. So I have 17x equals 170. And divide both sides by 17. I get x is equal to 10. Alright, let's take a look at the last example that I have on this day 2 part A, and this is the number 5. Now look, they all have decimals in them. Well, earlier in the steps that you wrote down in your notes, it said if you have fractions or decimals, get rid of them. So in number 4 we had fractions. We multiplied by a number that both denominators would divide evenly into. Well, with decimals, we want to multiply by a number that will move these decimal points right here. Alright, this 0.6a, one number behind the decimal point. 18.65, there are 2, and 22.85, there are 2. So if I want to move the decimal over so they all become whole numbers, I have to look at how far out do these decimals go. The furthest place value out is to the hundredths, 2 places out. So to move it 2 places, I need to multiply everything by 100. When I multiply by 100, that takes this decimal point, moves it over 2 places, so I will get 60a plus this 1865, because it moves that decimal place over 2, and then 2,285, because it moves that decimal place over 2 places. And now what I want to do is subtract this 1865. Remember, I got to undo my addition first. So I get this 60a, these cancel somehow, there we go, equals, I'm going to do my subtraction over here, I have a 0, I have a 2, and I have a 4, 420. So I'm going to divide both sides by 60. My a is equal to 7 when I divide it out. Okay, now go on to day 2, part B for the perimeter problems for your notes. Thank you.